Good morning. The markets are moving and so are you. From the Biz News studios, this is Biz News Daybreak for Monday, the 26th of January, 2026. I'm Alec Hogg, and here's the context you need to win the day. The gold price broke above $5,000 an ounce over the weekend, helping the rand, which just keeps on climbing. It's now at a 3.5-year high, starts the week at 16 Rand and 9 cents against the US dollar. Well, in the overnight news, things are reaching boiling point in Iran. A big week for tech earnings coming up, and no likely interest rate cuts when the Fed meets on Wednesday. Here's our partners at Bloomberg.
President Trump has dispatched naval assets to the Middle East, prompting fresh speculation that he'll follow through on threats to attack Iran's senior leadership amid a violent crackdown on nationwide protests. The USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier and its associated strike group passed through the Strait of Malacca between Malaysia and Indonesia earlier this week and are now in the Indian Ocean. This according to two U.S. officials who declined to specify their precise destination. Intel shares plunged 17% after Chief Executive Officer Lip-Bu Tan gave a lackluster forecast and warned that the chipmaker was struggling with manufacturing problems. First quarter projections for revenue and earnings both fell well short of Wall Street estimates. At a conference call with analysts where Tan said it would take time and resolve to turn around the company, sent the shares down further. Production snags have hampered the comeback bid, a disappointment for investors who anticipated more of a boost from new products. A down week for stocks, with the S&P 500 index posting its first back-to-back weekly losses since June. More on this from Bloomberg's Charlie Pellet.
For the week, the S&P 500 index was down 0.3%, the Dow this week down 0.5%, and NASDAQ on the week down under 0.1%. Wall Street wrapped up a jittery week on a relatively quiet note, with stock traders digesting the rally of the previous two sessions in the run-up to the Fed decision and the start of big tech earnings. Small caps declined Friday, trailing the S&P 500 index after beating it for 14 days in New York. Charlie Pellet, Bloomberg Radio.
According to people familiar with the White House deliberations, Rick Rieder's Wall Street bona fides and openness to make changes at the Federal Reserve have bolstered his candidacy for the central bank's top job. The BlackRock executive is seen as looking the part of the central banker and has also grabbed President Trump's attention with his myriad of ideas for overhauling the Fed. Rieder, one of four contenders to be Trump's pick to lead the central bank, has elicited positive reaction from bond market participants as Trump administration officials have sought investor views on the short list of Fed chair candidates. The Friday numbers on Wall Street: the Dow lost 285, NASDAQ gained 65, the S&P was up 2. The 10-year Treasury yield is at 4.23% and the 2-year at 3.59%.
On the local markets, the all-share index finished 779 points stronger. That's about 2/3%. Pulled higher by resources. Not surprisingly, resources up by 3.5%. It's been quite a run for resources lately, and, certainly shows very little sign of stopping. As far as Friday was concerned, we saw Sibanye-Stillwater, star of the show amongst the large caps. That was up by 6.25%. Impala Platinum, 4.75%. Harmony, 4.5%, and so it goes. As far as the individual stocks are concerned, outside of the resources sector, inside the resources sector and in our portfolio, best performer Orion was up another 9% on Friday. It's now trading at 36 cents. I think you were probably amongst those, hopefully, who bought it at 21 cents when it came into the Ricardo portfolios, the Biz News Ricardo portfolio. Also a good session for Sasol, which was up by 2.25%, and we'll hear more from Sasol. Lots of interesting thoughts in the NDB Sunday show with Chris Dane. She alternates her guests, but one of the most popular of them is Chris Wyatt. He is a U.S. intelligence analyst. He was in the military in the U.S. He's retired now, so a retired colonel. And he keeps a close eye on lots of interesting things here in South Africa, including the political side. He brings a neutral perspective, some might say a biased perspective or an American biased perspective. We all have our own glasses that we look through things. But it is interesting to hear him talk about the Democratic Alliance in some kind of a crisis. He's not impressed with John Steenhuisen, and particularly not in the way that he's been managing the foot and mouth disease crisis. That's in the NDB Sunday show this week. But something else where it is an area that we have to take Colonel Wyatt's perspectives very seriously is to do with the military. In this clip that you're going to hear in a moment, he tears into the South African National Defence Force's decision to blow nearly 400 million rand on a parade in Limpopo while soldiers in the Congo lack basic gear. But even more shocking is his revelation about the man just promoted to lead South Africa's Special Forces. He's a general currently charged with murder. Here's Chris and Chris.
The latest is the Iranian ships that came to participate in Will for Peace, Operation Mosi 3, renamed Will for Peace. The government, apparently under Cyril Ramaphosa, sent the order to tell the Iranians they should go home. And according to multimedia reports, we've seen Peter Fabricius of the Daily Maverick cover this extensively and others. It appears that the SANDF defied the president's order. They did the press release, and of course, it got pulled down within 2 hours. But we all caught it. We have the digits, we have the evidence, we have the receipts of them posting it. They proudly promoted that they weren't just there as observers; they were participants. They weren't even supposed to be there anymore. So they're defying the government. That's a pretty shocking situation. But it gets even worse. Now we have this 372 million rand being spent for the Defense Forces Day in Limpopo by the defense. 372 million rand, Chris? Seriously? You can't hold a parade in Bloemfontein or in KZN at one of your military bases, and spend a couple thousand rand for water and for chairs. That's ridiculous. 72 million rand. This is like countries out of control in Central and West Africa where dictators and military potentates rule. On top of this, we've now got the situation where the person on January 1st who was promoted to be the commanding general of the South Africa Special Forces is charged with murder. Charged with murder in the assassination of the SAP's lieutenant colonel who was investigating what happened with the military a couple of years ago. He is one of 7 co-accused. The other 6 were granted bail, but now that's been revoked by the National Prosecuting Authority. So those people are supposed to be in jail by this weekend, but he is free. He's now been promoted to be the commander of Special Forces. He's not accused of speeding. He's not accused of spousal abuse. Not that that's not a good thing, but he's not accused of fraud. But even if he's accused of fraud, you normally would sideline some of that. You wouldn't promote them. That doesn't mean his promotion would go to the sidelines. It'd just be held while you investigate this. But this man is charged with murder in a conspiracy to murder a government official. What kind of military does this? What kind of civilian control? Where is Angie Mocheka and oversight of the military? How in the world do you approve this man for a promotion?
Like a soapy breakup scene, selling your car can be an emotional experience.
Just how dramatic was the car selling experience?
Not dramatic at all. I did my research and WeBuyCars was by far the best price.
Very not dramatic. But I like drama.
I was standing there watching my phone, waiting for the money to get in, and there it was.
Yes. Car, driving.
WeBuyCars, the easiest way to sell your car, by far.
I wouldn't mind a little more drama. Anybody bring me some tears?
On to the investment news that hit us on Friday, which you may have missed. An end of an era for the JSE on Tuesday morning. That's tomorrow. The ticker BAW will vanish from the boards, ending over 80 years of public life for the industrial giant Barloworld. A consortium that's calling itself NewCo, it's a combination of local management and Saudi Arabia's family-owned Zahid Group, has successfully squeezed out the remaining minority shareholders, taking the company effectively tomorrow. It will go private. It's a poignant moment for South African economic history. Barlows once stood astride the South African economy like a colossus, owned everything from PPC to Tiger, Plascon to CG Smith. It's now gone. Another victim of the unbundling trend and the lure of private equity. There's a tribute on BizNews. On the resources side, a new name but old school profits, Valterra Platinum, the company formerly known as Amplats, flagged that its headline earnings are set to double for the year ending December 2025. That came out in the Stock Exchange News Service on Friday afternoon. It's a mix of luck and skill, a 26% jump in the PGM basket price, Platinum Group Metals, provided the tailwind, but management has added 5 billion rand in cost-cutting to the mix. Now, this is interesting because when you get a big division of a massive group being unbundled, it's amazing how much energy gets released amongst the management team when they have their independence. We saw that in many, many instances around the country and around the world, and we're seeing this again now with Anglo-Americans hiving off of Valterra. Even significant flooding at Valterra's Amandelbult mine couldn't dampen the mood thanks to a massive 2.5 billion rand insurance payout. The full numbers are on BizNews. And closing off on the company news, another of our stocks in the portfolio, as mentioned earlier, Sasol, which has had a wonderful rebound in the past couple of weeks. Well, it's finally fixing what it can control. In its latest update, also released on Friday, the energy giant reported a fatality-free second quarter and, crucially, announced its gold destoning plant is finally operational, solving years of quality headaches at Secunda. The grit is showing elsewhere too. Sasol has taken over the running of the Natref refinery after partner Prax filed for business rescue, actually improving performance enough to raise fuel sales guidance. The chemicals division remains a drag, but the South African foundation is arguably firmer than it has been in years. Full details are now up on BizNews. Well, we close off today's episode by going over to last week's goings-on in Davos, where geopolitics has finally gone pay-to-play. President Trump unveiled his so-called Board of Peace last Thursday. It's a direct rival to the United Nations with a staggering $1 billion entry fee. South Africa, incidentally, was not invited. With traditional European allies snubbing the launch and controversial figures like Viktor Orban of Hungary signing up, is this the end of the post-war order? Here are our partners at the Financial Times on the world's most expensive new club.
President Donald Trump spent his first day at Davos walking back his threats to invade Greenland. He spent his second day signing the charter of his Board of Peace, which some are seeing as a rival to the UN. He was joined by a motley crew of other nations. This project is yet another controversial flashpoint in the president's fraying relationship with his allies in Europe. Most weren't even at the signing. The FT's Mehul Srivastava is here to tell us all about it. Hey, Mehul.
Hey, guys.
All right, so give me the backstory on this Board of Peace. Why did Trump create it in the first place?
So initially, this Board of Peace had a very small mandate. It was designed to kind of oversee the ceasefire that Trump himself had brokered between Israel and Hamas in Gaza, and then to kind of manage the reconstruction of Gaza. But it seems about 3 weeks ago, Trump was so enamored with this idea that he's now expanded it to all kinds of conflicts around the world. A charter was quickly drawn up, and invitations went out last week to 30, 40 countries. And then all of a sudden in Davos, we saw a signing ceremony where none of the major European nations were there to support what's supposed to be a major international alliance that's supposed to help bring end to war around the world.
Tell me a little bit more about the stark divide between the countries who have signed onto this charter and maybe more importantly, those who haven't.
Those who have openly signed up include 6 monarchs, 3 ex-Soviet apparatchiks, 2 military-backed regimes, and even Israel and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who himself is sought by the International Criminal Court for alleged war crimes. We see Viktor Orban in Hungary, who himself is suspicious of international norms that seek to constrain his behavior, and Bulgaria joining in. But you haven't seen the United Kingdom or France or Germany, countries that help form the foundation of the international rules-based order, embrace this in any way at all. And perhaps more controversially is the fact that you have to pay $1 billion to join this Board of Peace for its perpetual membership. You can join in and be a member for 3 years, but perpetual membership with its perpetual lifetime leader, Donald Trump, will cost the country $1 billion.
Some European allies have raised concerns that this Board of Peace could have actually been designed to replace the United Nations. Is that a meaningful threat?
Well, it's certainly something that President Trump himself has mentioned. He was complaining on the flight over to Davos that the United Nations hasn't helped him in ending any wars. He's called this the Board of Peace. The charter talks about, finding solutions to conflicts around the world, which is something that we tend to assume that the United Nations, the Security Council, peacekeeping missions, etc., will be involved in helping to bring an end to conflicts. And we have seen them succeed in the past, and we've also seen them fail in the past. But in general, this is seen by the Europeans and by other countries as a way to create an alternate system in the world, an alternate world order within which Donald Trump has a lot more sway than he can have over the United Nations, which tends to be quite more democratic.
What an interesting world we live in. Well, now you have the edge. For the full interviews and the details behind these stories, head over to biznews.com. I'm Alec Hogg. Thank you for starting your morning with us. Now go and seize the day.